Have you ever noticed that no matter which subway you walk into, from the humid streets of Darwin to the freezing corners of Hobart, that Meatball Marinara smells exactly, and I mean exactly, the same? It's a smell that's designed to trigger a primal hunger response. But for my husband, who spent 3 grueling years behind the sandwich artist counter in a busy Melbourne suburb, that smell doesn't represent food. To him, it smells like a cover-up. Now, I'm not saying my husband is the hero.
Whoa, are those meatballs burnt?
They're
just well done, extra crispy.
Right, can I get some fresh ones?
During the
Sure
11 p.m. closing shifts changed our household forever. See, the Meatball Marinara
is our liquid smoke for extra flavour. It adds a nice smoky taste.
Because in the world of fast food logistics, the sauce is the ultimate eraser. Before we reveal the chemical binding agent that keeps these meatballs bouncy even after 48 hours,
just checking the temp on this meat.
Which Ozzy chains are actually safe.
74 degrees.
Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're currently investigating every major Australian food chain to find out who's feeding you real food and who's feeding you fillers. Think about it. If a piece of turkey looks slightly grey, you see it. If the lettuce is slimy, you reject it. But a meatball? A meatball is submerged. It's drowning in a thick, hyper-sweetened tomato slurry that acts as a thermal blanket. My husband watched as meatballs from the morning shift, meatballs that had been sitting in a heated plastic bin for 10 hours, were simply refreshed with a new splash of sauce and carried over to the next day. But the real shock isn't just the age, it's the composition. In 2026, we like to think we know what we're eating, but when you look at the Australian food standards and Subway's own nutritional PDF, you'll find a much more complex reality. Those meatballs are a binder's dream. We're talking about soy protein concentrate, textured vegetable protein, and flavour enhancers that make up a significant portion of the weight. When you bite into that sub, your brain thinks protein, but your gut is processing a chemical cocktail. In 2020, the Irish Supreme Court famously ruled that Subway's bread contains so much sugar, 10% of the weight of the flour, that it couldn't legally be called bread. In Australia, we have similar sugar spikes in the sauces. That marinara isn't a grandma's recipe, it's a high fructose delivery system designed to spike your insulin so that 30 minutes later you're crashing and looking for a cookie. This is the meatball trap.
We use this powder to keep our veggies fresh.
For them to produce
it preserves the texture and nutrients.
Trimmings of the industry, yet it's the one we trust because it feels warm and home cooked. But as the Australian police sirens in our thumbnail suggests, there's a thin line between efficient business and a public health heist. If you think the recycled meatballs are bad, you haven't looked at the logistics of freshness. Australia is a massive continent. To get fresh ingredients to 1,200 stores, you can't rely on a local farmer down the road. You rely on massive, centralised distribution centres. This brings us to the ethylene illusion. Many of the vegetables you see in those clear bins are picked weeks before they hit your sub. They're picked green, stored in a dormant state, and then gassed to turn them the perfect shade of red just before delivery. But let's get back to the meatball sub, the specific reason you need to stop ordering it today. There's a concept in the food industry called the warm hole danger zone. Bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus love temperatures between 5 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius. In a perfect world, that marinara of that stays boiling.
This burger is amazing.
Rush, with
the fries are so crispy.
Off and the sandwich artist rushing
to hit
a 45-second per customer KPI, those temperatures fluctuate. My husband saw bins that hadn't been properly temp
Here's your fresh sub.
Thanks, looks great.
When you're understaffed
and extra lettuce.
The line's out the door, the thermometer's the first thing that gets faked. And then there's the sodium tax. An average footlong meatball marinara
Here's your fresh
in
sub.
Australia
Thanks, looks great.
Over
and extra lettuce.
milligrams of sodium. That isn't just a salty meal, that's 100% of your daily recommended limit in a single sitting. If you add the processed cheddar and a bag of crisps, you're essentially sending a shockwave through your kidneys. The reason this video is shocking isn't because Subway is evil, it's because the system is automated. The employees are trained to be robots. They aren't taught nutrition, they are taught speed of service. When a brand prioritises speed over the biological
next stop is the food court.
reality of the human
Yes, I'm
body,
starving.
the customer
This sale is
loses
epic.
every single time. My husband eventually quit because he couldn't stand the cookie upsell. He knew that after a customer ate a 1,000-calorie sub, the last thing their heart needed was a sugar-laden puck of dough, but the system demanded it. So what's the alternative? If you're in Australia in 2026, you have choices. You have local delis, you have clean chains like GYG that prepare food in front of you without the hidden vats. The meatball sub is a relic of a time when we didn't ask questions, but today the green curtain is being
Whoa,
pulled
are those
back.
meatballs burnt?
The next
They're
time
just
you're
well
at the
done.
counter
Extra
and the
crispy.
smell of
Right,
that
can I get some
marinara
fresh
hits
ones?
you,
Sure thing.
remember Mark's closing shifts. Remember the rinsed meatballs. Remember the 2,500 milligrams of salt. And ask yourself, is this eating fresh or is it just eating fast? We want to hear
Just
the
checking the
truth
temp
from
on
the
this
front
meat.
lines. If you've ever worked
Perfect,
at a major
74
food
degrees.
chain in Australia, drop a comment below. Was your kitchen a gold standard, or were you told to just add more sauce? We're reading every single story to expose the truth in our next deep dive.